Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me this morning to talk about this is very important issue, which is relevant to my mandate. I take a position certainly that child and forced marriage constitute a clear violation of fundamental human rights norms and principles, and just has been highlighted by you yourself. And as it is it happens in different parts of the world, and she mentioned Asia and Africa, but it is also important to remember that child marriage can also happen in a developed world, including Europe, North America, and so on. So this is a widespread issue that we need to consider quite seriously. And so I just wanted to touch upon some of perhaps the causes why people, girls and women, are drawn into this. And there are key causes such as poverty, which oftentimes force parents to encourage their girls to marry into a wealthier household, gender inequality, and intersectional forms of discrimination based on various grounds. Religion is one, nationality, migration status, indigenous status, sexual orientation, and so on. And they also put in particular these populations in a marginalized position, and social and cultural acceptance of child and forced marriage also can be seen in various parts of the world. And that's the reason why as many as 22 million people are in this situation. And other causes also include lack of access to education, particularly for girls, which is such a concerning problem, not just in the context of Asia, but in different parts of the world. And also the ineffective enforcement of laws and regulation. A large number of countries nowadays do have legislation prohibiting forced or child marriage. The fact that these practices exist suggests or demonstrates that the laws are not enforced. And so I think that needs to be addressed. And there are also issues such as, for example, humanitarian crisis, conflicts, natural disasters, displacements, and most recently the COVID-19 pandemic. There's an emerging evidence that these are forcing instances of resulted in the growth of child and forced marriage. So this is not a simple issue. There's lots of interconnecting causes at play. And what happens then after they are forced? Obviously, child and forced marriage in themselves are violations of human rights, but there are other consequences. For example, it is linked to other forms of exploitation, such as sexual exploitation or slavery and domestic servitude, where girls are forced to work for a household as maid, cleaning and cooking and taking care of the elderly and so on. And forced religious conversion is an important issue, and as the distinguished panelists will probably be highlighting these issues further in Africa, Asia, and Pakistan. Domestic violence, forced pregnancy, violation of right to work and education, and even the right to life has been taken as so-called dowries death, when killing some individuals are killed when dowries are not high enough. And so these are the consequences of child and forced marriage. And what I do in my capacity as Special Rapporteur on contemporary forms of slavery, I'm entrusted to examine issues relating to traditional slavery, forced labor, including child and forced marriage. So I publish an annual report, and I oftentimes touch upon a child and forced marriage. So for example, last year, when I published a report on the exploitation of minorities, I looked at that dimension in certain societies and cultures, and religious, linguistic, and ethnic minorities are forced into these practices, which is quite disturbing. So I try to shed a light on these issues by producing an annual thematic report, and also conduct country visits. Once again, every time I go, I examine the issue of child and forced marriage and obtain first-hand information from the victims as well as civil society organizations and so on. And so the key here is a fact-finding. My job is to kind of find facts and widely share that within the international community for others to learn. And another things that I do is send communications. So when I receive allegations of contemporary forms of slavery, including child and forced marriage, I am in a position to be able to send the allegation to the government themselves. So in 2021, myself and other special rapporteurs sent a communication to Pakistan on the issue of forced conversion and forced marriage of young girls and women, vis-a-vis to encouraging the government to respond to these allegations and highlighting the steps taken. And some countries do respond, but I don't remember if Pakistan has actually responded to our allegations, which is slightly concerning. But this is to enhance dialogue and cooperation from the alleged countries. And so these are some of the ways that I try to bring these issues to the attention of individual countries concerned, as well as the international community. And then I also work with relevant victims, survivors themselves, and also civil society organizations, faith-based groups, with a view to raising awareness and also promote international standards on these issues. So these are some of the things I do. So I'll stop there, and I'll be very happy to answer questions. Thank you very much for that.